Hello, I am Cake. Apple Cake. Apple Cake Sparkle. Before we begin, yeah, I changed Cake's voice again. At least I'm not using Apple Bloom. Now, today I'm going to be talking about my take on the My Little Pony timeline. And no, I won't just be organizing Friendship is Magic episodes into a list of chronological order for the billionth time, or trying to figure out just how much longer Gen 5 takes place after Gen 4. I want to talk about the whole timeline, all of it, from 1 to 5. But before we begin, there are two, well, half genes that will not be talked about. Those being 3.5 and 4.5 specifically, the newborn ponies, and pony life. From here on out, for the rest of the video, I won't talk about them at all. All right, now that we got that out of the way, there's one more thing. So, Generation 2. A few people online have come to me and complained that when I talk about My Little Ponytails, I refer to it as Gen 2, when technically it's Gen 1, as both My Little Pony and Friends and Tails were both out during the same generation. All right, well, yes. This is true from a real-life timeline standpoint. The Generation 2 they are referring to does not have a show, and if it does have lore, it's so hidden in toy descriptions, I would spend weeks, if not months, skimming old wiki and eBay posts looking for the lore, and I'd never be able to make this video. Not that I don't plan to. It's just finding images for things I wanted to talk about for this video was hard enough. I want to find every single ounce of pony lore there is, and I don't plan on ever stopping. Maybe one day I'll even update this very video with even more lore. Anyways, now that we have established that when I say Gen 2, I am referring to My Little Ponytails and Gen 1 as just My Little Pony and Friends, we can continue. Okay, starting off, the first thing in the timeline is obviously Escape from Midnight Castle. The best piece of media My Little Pony ever made. Hooves down. From the music, the animation, the characters. This still makes me watery-eyed hearing the first ever My Little Pony theme song when it comes on, especially with how it's signifying a great winter has just ended and now the ponies are out once again to explore. A basic rundown of the movie, if you haven't already seen it at least 3 times, is simple. The ponies are out having a wonderful time until Stratodons, basically dragons, show up and kidnap a few ponies, including Gen 1 Twilight's hinted at daughter, Ember. The ponies desperately look for help and find Megan, a teenage girl with a heart of pure gold, who naturally defeats the big bad evil of the pilot, Lord Tirek, and saves the day. But there are some important things to take away from this too for later sake, Megan herself, and the Rainbow of Light the Moochek gives her. The Rainbow of Light is an extremely reoccurring artifact in My Little Pony, if you know where you're looking. And, of course, the Rainbow of Darkness. The Rainbow of Darkness is something I never see anyone talk about when it comes to Gen 1 Titans with later gens. So, what exactly are these? We will talk more about these two later when we get to Gen 4, but for now it's important to think of the rainbows of light and dark as the yin and yangs of My Little Pony, the very life essence of the world itself. And before you say how, it's important to note that the Moochek says he only has a small piece of the rainbow in the pilot episode. Not that what he gives Megan is, in of itself, the whole tea set, so to speak. Now, as for Megan herself, oh, where to begin with no one else but the savior of pony kind. Megan is found by Firefly, and just the way Firefly and Megan act strikes me as quite odd, more so than just simple 80s shoestring budget and cocaine writing. It's almost as if Firefly is attracted to Megan, not in a romantic sense, but more in a calling fate way. Like the universe itself was pulling them together in the hour of need. Megan first spots Firefly as a shooting star, something usually associated with change from the universe itself. We know ponies are chosen by fate to be heroes when they are needed, and sometimes not ponies, Megan being the only good nun pony. Later on in the pilot, Tirek uses the Rainbow of Darkness to change the ponies before him into beasts to pull his Chariot of Darkness, which he plans to use to bring in an eternal night that never ends. This is an extremely important note, and as you can already guess, will be talked about later on. But it's the transformation itself that makes me see the rainbows of light and dark as some kind of force that holds the world together, and likely the source of magic itself in My Little Pony. He specifies Ember, a filly, is too small to pull his chariot if he were to transform her, which implies there is at least a law of equivalent exchange where, at least internally, Magic seems to need to reside with a creature for them to be properly transformed. Like, basic rules of physics stuff. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. So on, law of equivalent exchange. Basic rules of the universe. The ponies themselves take quickly to Megan, quickly seeing her as their hero and calling on her for aid whenever they can. They even host like a child beauty pageant for her at the end of Escape from Katrina. Go rewatch that ending if you don't remember it. It was something, I guess. Now, there are a few things I want to cover about Generation 1 quickly. If I was a normal YouTuber, I'd milk this segment to do a bunch of episode breakdowns. Unfortunately for you, I don't make videos for profit, so go watch the episodes yourself. What, expect me to spoon feed you here? Absolutely not. Fakies won't be tolerated. Moving on, the particular theme of Gen 1 seems to be that the rainbow of light is directly tied to sunlight. The flutter ponies depend on the sunstone. The rainbow of light clears up the sky to have the sun melt Katrina's snowstorm, and so on. So we know that the rainbow of light seems to have an affinity with the giant ball of light in the sky, and the rainbow of darkness is vice versa. I think you can already see where I'm going with this. Moving on, and to talk about the Katrina special, it seems extremely apparent that Megan has some desire to give the rainbow of light back to pony kind, as if she was trying to find an heir or sorts. It's important to note Megan doesn't live in Ponyland, and in Escape from Katrina, it's implied she's been away for some time, to the point they are hosting a welcome back party. Now, who would that pony be? To me, personally, it seems clear-cut that Majesty was ultimately meant to be the one who receives the rainbow of light when Megan seems to, sadly, vanish later on in the series. Even from a timeline perspective, and as someone who hates humans, it deeply saddens me that we never really see Megan again. We'll talk about EQG later, but that's not Megan. To tie up Gen 1, we need to talk about the world around the ponies known as Dream Valley. Dream Valley is, well, strange naturally. We never see Firefly directly travel or use some kind of magic to reach Megan, but it's pretty clear-cut that Dream Valley itself is not on the same plane as where Megan comes from, which is most likely Earth. The Moochek is clearly some gnome person. Katrina is just someone's persona. And as for other creatures like Bush Willies, we don't see them in other generations. There is apparently some connection to them in the comics as an Easter egg, possibly. But like with all things, and where side content not officially made in glorious animation goes, that's right. It goes on I haven't been able to sit down and fully pirate and read it all yet to determine where it goes in the timeline shelf. Okay, so moving on to Generation 3. So Gen 3. Oh, how I love Gen 3. To me, Gen 3 is truly the era of stagnation for ponykind in this timeline. So Gen 3 begins with just one race of ponies, being Earth ponies. They live by themselves, mostly, until they run into Starcatcher. Pay attention to Starcatcher's design and very unique way of simply being herself in Gen 3. She seems to, in my opinion, always, and I mean always, be playing her cards close to her chest here. Hard to show that in the generation made to sell toys to toddlers. But watch the first episode, she appears in again, and you can almost tell she has this carrot on a stick approach about her to everything, and seems absolutely determined to get Pegasi and Earth ponies to be friends together, even reunite. And then there's the unicorns of Unicornia and Rarity. How we wish you were here. If you could appear right here, what fun. That's never getting out of your head, no matter how many times you listen to it. Trust me, this gen was fucking peak. But I think all of them were peak. Well, the ones that were made with soul and coke anyways, not Gen 5. No, sir. Gen 3 shows a paradise of ponykind, but there are some things to note. Already we can see ponykind seems to be in more of tribes, and even though they are shown to be extremely friendly and without any signs of trouble, competition, superstition, or so on, Gen 3 is oddly saturated, isn't it? It feels like I'm looking at an old childhood memory when the world was a bit brighter and happy. Like pure nostalgia. It's not hard to think that the Gen 3 we are seeing is a heavily sanitized and sugar-coated perception. I wouldn't go so far as to say something like, oh my stars, guys, what if they aren't actually super happy and frolicking? More so along the lines that they are in a golden age and are being remembered as such. So, how did we get here from Generation 1? My idea is simple. Megan gives the rainbow of light to the pony, who she thinks is best suited for it, being Majesty. Obviously not Moondancer, she's a baby, and lost it the first time. Majesty seems absolutely perfect for this role. Her name alone invokes a sense of purpose. But her magical talent is where she shines. She is shown to be, well, a Mary Sue, almost. And she has Spike. So Gen 3 takes place and officially from its merchandise inside of Ponyland and not Dream Valley. So if I had to guess, at some point Majesty fled Dream Valley and arrived in Ponyland. Either they were forced to leave due to some other event or arrived as colonists. There's really no official ending for Generation 1, so it's hard to say. That's understandable, to me at least. I like to see Megan as this holy figure in pony history. They have slowly lost to time. Not knowing where she is or what happened to her gives hope she may return one day. Now, establishing that we have left Dream Valley, we can talk a bit about Generation 4, then 2, then get into 4 properly. So let's go quickly. Generation 4 establishes, in a strangely out of place, almost history episode, that pony kind was divided into 3 tribes, which all grew bitter at one another, thanks to magical creatures called Wendigos, feeding on their bad feelings or disharmony, I suppose. Also, there's that use of cold winter being the enemy of pony kind theme again. This causes them to flee to find a new land, which is promptly Equestria. Boom, there you have it. Ponykind leaves Ponyland for Equestria, and that's hard lore too. So what about Generation 2? Well, Gen 2 also claims to be set in Ponyland. But one thing to note is everyone in this show's an Earth pony. All of them, they live in a fully functioning 1990s American society. It's all very strange until you realize there's no magic here. None. Until an episode about aliens kind of throws a whole rope around it and it starts to be clear. In the episode Up, Up, and Away, yes, I said I wouldn't spoon feed, but I feel like I have to yap here specifically. So the episode starts with Patch and Bon Bon, who hear about an alien crash site and want to go see it, but are quickly stopped because fucking cop piggies. God damn, can I get an ACAB in the chat? Anyways, they decide to steal a hot air balloon instead, and naturally, one of the little shits nearly falls out and crashes the thing trying to see these aliens. But they are saved by the aliens that are revealed to be Pegasuses, and extremely strange ones. They are covered in tattoos and glowing and speak like, well, Starcatcher from Generation 3, don't they? Starcatcher is the only pony in Gen 3 who has that weird tattoo on her face. It's odd, right? If I was a schizophrenic pony lore enthusiast, which I am, I'd say, it's possible that there's a hidden cult that's been watching over ponykind. My guess being they either try and follow the example of either Megan or serve the rainbow of light like the antithesis of how so many villains seem to want to serve the darkness. Gen 2 is about Earth ponies who stayed behind in Ponyland. They do actually live in Ponyland in the show, albeit a town in Ponyland called Coltonville, but it shares the exact same name as the one from Generation 3. And when they talk about the world as a whole, they do say Ponyland. So now that we have that cleared up, let's talk about Gen 4. All right, let's get right into the tie-in. I can say without any doubt in my heart that Celestia and Luna are the embodiments of the rainbows of light and darkness. And if I had to guess how, I'd put in a simple way. Take Star Swirl the Bearded. Ponykind just reunited after at least a few hundred years of separation. And suddenly you have a new generation at your hooves. If Ponykind still had that rainbow of light and maybe darkness somewhere, now would be a great time to break it out to deal with the road ahead. To ensure that this time, this land will always be their home. No more leaving, no more running away. Megan ain't coming back as time has proven, and at least we'll always have her example in our hearts. So you take 2 Philly sisters, and bam. Now you got fucking alicorns. The pure embodiment of what separates Ponykind from the rest of the little worms crawling around in the mud, a pure connection to life itself. From here, the story is kind of just tying itself up. Luna, overwhelmed due to her younger age, gives into the rainbow of darkness and, as the show itself shows, transforms into Nightmare Moon out of envy for her sister. And the way she is saved is the elements of harmony, using A big fucking rainbow. Yeah, that's the same shit Scorpion got hit with, right? Now there is a small ugh pain in my ass here thing about this. We know Scorpion and T-Rex show up later in the show through a flashback, so does that make Escape from Midnight Castle false? Well, what if I said it's all part of a much grander conspiracy? Oh, yes, dear listener, you have all been deceived. Because with yin and yang, there's evil and good and evil. And I see no reason why Celestia, the bright white horse with flowing rainbow like mane, would want others to know about this little rainbow of light business. It makes sense. Why would you want some pony to know that such a big weakness could be exploited? The moment Sombra found out about the Tree of Harmony, that thing got fucking shattered into a clubhouse. Yeah, let's not talk about that. It's important to note the only ones telling this backstory are Luna and Celestia to Cadence and Twilight, who seem to have never heard of it before. Strange they wouldn't have heard such a pivotal story to what the magic of friendship can achieve centered around Luna, Celestia, and Star Swirl the Bearded to me. The whole retelling might not be a lie, but only bits of it. The Scorpion in the story could be a different person that T-Rex made into a beast to serve him, and it does line up with Star Swirl using the Rainbow of Darkness, something T-Rex seems to view as his own source of magic and purpose to show up again and reclaim after finding out it's out there again being held by ponykind. There's also theories that the T-Rex in the show we see is clearly not the same T-Rex we see in Escape from Midnight Castle. In EQG, we do see Megan again, not really. She's kind of there as an Easter egg, to be honest. But if I had to really pull her in, I'd say it's like T-Rex or other ponies here. She's a descendant of Megan, sharing her however many great-grandmother's name like ponies do repeatedly in MLP. At least I can say she does look a bit more jaundiced than the last time we saw her. And about that comic where the Gen 1 ponies visit Gen 4. Yeah, that can and will be going in the trash. To wrap all that up, we have Gen 5, and Gen 5 is missing our beloved alicorns. Where did they go? What the hell is ancestral blood memory? Why is it that when Sunny reunites Ponykind again, she turns into a alicorn princess and is once again rewarded with the rainbow of fucking light itself? Oh my god, could Gen 5 be Kino? Could it be SSS tier? Hell no. Watch an episode about smelly hooves. Buy a fucking toy flying hippie van. The only thing that particularly stands out to me is the connection between the Breezies, who show up themselves to give the Hope Locket to Sunny. Breezies originally showed up in Generation 3, but seem to be somewhat descendants of the Flutter Ponies in Generation 1 and showed up again in Generation 4. If I had to guess, I'd say they are a part of the Megan cult, or Rainbows of Light and Darkness cult, whatever you would call them for this conspiracy. All right, it's Cake Sparkle. We are done here. Okay, maybe not done, but also, I don't know what to say. Gen 5 got canned, Gen 6 was supposedly about to be fucking camp slop, and I am not watching this creepy-ass finger puppet beanmouth garbage to find out why it got canned and no one watched it. So, that's the timeline so far. I thank you, viewers, truly, for watching this whole video. I hope I opened your eyes to more My Little Pony lore. And if you got the time, fucking watch the older gens. It's 2025. If I have to hear one more fucking fag tell me, ooh, I don't watch older gens. I only watch Gen 4. I like her Starlight and Twixie Durr. I'm going on a fakey hunt and taking fingers. I can't stand this shit anymore.
Sweet music.